weekend, got some recruiting done, got to spend some time with our families and players as well, and had meetings this morning. Then we're going to go out and practice this afternoon, and we're into Arizona State. So we've got some very important games coming up, starting with this one Saturday against a very good Arizona State team, and so we've got to get ourselves focused in and ready to roll. So that's what we're going to do.
Does Arizona State get like that last week help you guys or hurt you guys?
I don't think it matters at all, really. You know, I think had they won, they'd be riding high, and the fact that they suffered defeat, you know, they'll probably be as determined as ever to get back on track. So I think regardless of what happens the week before, you just got to do the best you can to prepare that week going into the game, and worry more about yourself than about the opponent's motivation.
Do you think that game helped you identify any holes in their defense that might not have been as obvious before?
No, I mean, I think that Oregon is just such an explosive team. I mean, you always look at a film, and you know, if a play works consistently, you know, maybe you try to incorporate it into your game plan, but you still have to kind of stay true to what you always do. But I just think that, you know, Oregon's so explosive. The second half they played them very well. You know, we just got to get ourselves mentally right, physically prepared, have a good week of practice, you know, have a good game plan for our kids, and go out and cut it loose.
What have you seen on film from Arizona State?
Well, you see a team that's physical, that's explosive, that can make plays on both sides of the ball, that runs well. Their quarterback is excellent on the move, especially moving out to his right. So you've got to do an excellent job of keeping him in the pocket. I think they've got 3 running backs that can all do different things with the football, and are all good players, and they're just a solid team. You know, they operate offensively at a pretty good pace, but that's, you know, nothing new, because that's kind of the trend in college football. We see that all the time, and we see it against our offense. So that shouldn't surprise us. Defensively up front, I think they're really physical, and you know, they play fast on defense. You know, they cover a lot of ground. When you watch them play, sometimes when you watch a defense play, it looks like the field's smaller than it is, and that's just a credit to their speed and their relentless pursuit, and they play that way.
They're #1 in the country against the pass. What do they do against the pass?
Well, I think it starts with their pass rush. They're disruptive, and the quarterback doesn't have a lot of time to throw the football. You know, they make him alter his motion a lot. You know, they get him on the move a lot, and then down the field, they're veterans back there. They play physical. You know, they just play good team pass defense. Linebackers, when they're in man-to-man on running backs, do a good job of covering. Linebackers, when they're in zone, do a good job of getting the proper depth, you know, and taking away throwing lanes. Their secondary plays well together. They don't make a lot of mental errors. And so you've got to be patient, and you know, when something presents itself, you've got to make the play. You know, you've got to be accurate with the ball. You've got to be on time with the ball, or they can make you pay.
Do you have a plan B for a scheme depending on whether Wilson plays or not?
No, it won't really change too much what we do. Obviously, he's a great player. You know, we just got done playing a really great player as well, you know, in Star Lutulele. So it's you change things just a little bit, but you just can't make wholesale changes to your scheme, especially with regards to your blocking patterns, dependent upon one player. You certainly got to have emphasis on him, but you know, we just gotta do our thing and do it as well as we can. And if he's in there, help when we can help. And if we can't help, the guy whoever's blocking him's got to do a good job on him.
How did Xavier do against Star?
He did well. He did well, and he was on him a lot, you know, because they played a lot of even front, and he did a really nice job. You know, Xavier's kind of a relentless guy. He's got really good feet. His power is developing and has developed since, you know, he came back from his mission, but his footwork is what's captivating to me. I mean, he's just got outstanding feet and he's tenacious. So, you know, he loves the challenge of playing against a great player. So I think he'd be excited for it.
With Sutton, are you following, I guess, the injury updates or injury reports that they're doing?
No, I don't. Whether he plays or not is nothing that I can control. So for us to waste any time worrying about it is just that, a waste of our time that could be spent on other things. And I think if you ask most coaches, that's what they'd tell you, is that we don't worry too much about injuries. We can't control them, whether they're ours or other teams. And, you know, most of the coaches that I've ever been fortunate to work with it is what it is. The guy's going to play or is not, but the game kickoff's at noon and someone's going to be in there.
What about the way they use their running backs? Switching them?
3 really good ones. All a little bit different. And then, you know, their quarterback's like a 4th running back too. He's got speed. That's what jumps out. A couple things that jump out to me about their quarterback is his mobility, his ability to throw the ball accurately on the run, and then the speed with which he runs the ball when he does become a runner. You know, he's not a guy that's looking to run out of bounds or just get a little bit of yards and get down. I mean, he's looking to break them. And I like him. I think he's fearless. He's a good player. But they've got a good running game, you know, and Todd Graham likes to play a tough physical style of game, and they can do that with those guys.
Does that make it more difficult to prepare when you got 3, 4 different guys?
No, what you have to do in practice is give your players, you know, some different looks. So, you know, you'll see some different guys potentially at running back on the scout team. But I still believe that stopping the run comes down to proper gap control, getting off blocks, staying off on your feet, tackling, swarming, moving your feet on contact, play entry and leverage, those types of things, rather than, you know, who you're playing. That's what I've always felt. There's only been one running back that I've ever faced in my entire career that we had a special set of rules for, and that was Barry Sanders. And he was pretty good. We had Barry Sanders rules. Other than that, played some pretty good ones. We've never really put too much emphasis on the individual.
Are these backs that radically different that you just can't plug in the scheme?
No, I mean, you can't spend too much time during a game worrying about who's in there, you know. They run the same plays. Yeah, it's, you know, I've said this a lot, is that I mean, you're aware of who's in the game and you're aware of their personnel and who can do what and what strengths each player has and how they're going to try to attack you. But essentially, you're preparing for a scheme, you know, and their scheme doesn't alter radically dependent upon who's in there running back.
Did the plan for Barry Sanders include prayer?
Prayer, no. We had our Barry Sanders rules though.
With Taylor Kelly, he's been unbelievable like efficiency the last week. Oregon was able to sort of knock him off the game. Was there anything that you saw in it specifically?
Well, I think what happens is anytime that you can get a lead on any team, like Oregon did, I mean, Oregon jumped out to a pretty substantial lead very, very quickly. It forces you offensively to become more one-dimensional than I think any team would ever like to be. And so when you're in a position where you're not able to run the ball like you'd like to run the ball because you're behind, defenses can pin their ears back and tee off on you a little bit more. And so it just makes life a lot harder for any quarterback. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Joe Montana or anybody else. When the team that you're playing knows that you have to throw the ball to get back in the game, then they can pin them back and come after you.
How much of Noel's knowledge of ASU are you taking from him this weekend?
Basically, more about players than anything else. But you know, he's got to devise his game plan. So he's got to work that. The thing that you know, that we've got to be concerned about a little bit is that they have a great knowledge of our offense. You know, their players played against our offense every day in practice for the years that Noel was there. So, you know, we'll have to change some things up a little bit try to keep them off guard. But still, you can't just scrap everything and start over. You know, it still comes down to calling good plays and then your players executing those plays. The good? I know it's tough without a game last Saturday. Thanks.